Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All things Middle-earth here with a video looking at Witch King, who I've had since Season 1 and run every season since. There are a lot of pros and a lot of cons with running this commander, so I want to talk about those. I want to talk about the gear, the skills, the troops, all that good stuff. So a how to use Witch King video coming up in just 1 second, so stay tuned. Now, depending on if you have a Witch King or not, you may have a different relationship with him. A lot of people are either in the camp of him being a glorified tile taker. I see a lot of Witch King owners who bench their Witch Kings, not happy with how countered he is by Gandalf the Grey, by the high alert meta, by fire protection gear, all that kind of stuff. And then players who do not have Witch King who are constantly calling for nerfs of Witch King. Now, I'm not saying that's everybody who doesn't have him, but it is one of the things I see posted the most is Witch King needs nerfed, Witch King needs nerfed over and over again. And then I see all the people, even on my own team, who have Witch King who've benched him for the season. Some happy with that, some not happy with that when they see how other ones are performing. But it's a very love-hate relationship with him because High Alert is a skill that reduces burn damage by 50%. There is burn protection gear in the game, different kinds of it. And so he's very, very, very counterable. And if he is countered heavily enough, it does not go well for him. However, if he does not hit a counter, he punches through armies like nobody's business. So it really is a love-hate relationship. Again, my Witch King's name's Fred, if you didn't know. If you're on the streams, you probably did know that, but I need to talk to the devs about, can we get like custom commander names where it can have a little name here? I think that'd be great. I'd like mine to say Fred there. I'm going to edit it in just for fun. But this is my Witch King Fred, and we've been together for a long time. So I want to talk about the skills and the build and everything I do for him. Shout out to Netheries who helped me this season kind of fine-tune and try out some different things with Witch King, because I think I've seen some really, really awesome results. But starting out, we made another commander sheet. Again, the one we have for Witch King currently is pretty outdated. So this is going to be one that obviously is non-roleplay, or at least Season 6, which only has the non-roleplay option. Because as you can see right off the get-go, we have the Swan Knights in the comp here, and we'll get to that in a second. But starting out down here, you'll see the optimal respect, or the minimum optimal respect, is going to be 3. There are decent builds. There are physical damage builds, Fell Beast builds at Respect 5 that I actually really like as well. But this is a Respect 3 build, and I like that about Witch King because some of the Tier 3 commanders absolutely require Respect 5. He does not, and he still can do very well, which I very much enjoy. So as you can see here, we are going to run 500 Swan Knights, we're going to run 500 War Drummers, and we're going to do everything else as Alchemists. Now, I will caveat this and say these things can be adjusted slightly, even if you're not in non-roleplay. If you don't have Swan Knights, you can run Mountain Trolls. You want to make sure you've maxed out their taunt, because that is one of the key things that's going to keep your Witch King fighting as long as possible. So I prefer the Swan Knights if you have them available. Obviously, if you're playing non-roleplay, or if you're playing in Season 6, where that's all you have is either Swan Knights or War Chariots, they have been crazy, crazy, crazy good on Witch King. So Swan Knights or Mountain Trolls. In terms of the War Drummers, I happen to get access to them this season. They have a debuff removal and increased damage, which everyone knows Witch King just does crazy damage. So adding a troop that's going to enhance that even more is pretty insane. And then Alchemists. The Alchemists are a must, but you can use Sappers as well. And so honestly, all season I had Alchemists and Sappers going the whole time. So sometimes if I have less Alchemists, I don't have enough for a full stack, I'll run Alchemist and Sappers about half and half with my tank. And if you don't have War Drummers, just run 500 of something else. Run some Halberdiers or something. The tankiest type of thing you have is going to be fine. The big thing is the taunt and the extra damage here, but the debuff removal and the extra damage does not hurt at all for him there. Moving on from the troops, we have the equipment here. This is not a either purple specific or gold specific. This is what I run on my Witch King. Again, you can see here, if you look at it, this is the gear that I run that I'm really, really happy with. There are some other alternatives you can do. There are some gold pieces that do get better at higher refinement, which I'll point out. But I just wanted to show what I run because I've run it for almost 6 seasons and I've had a lot of success with it, so I thought I'd share it. But anyway, we've got the Melee Might Cutlass. Again, the thing that you're looking for on the gear is you want to increase the damage the Alchemists do. So the Melee Might Cutlass increases the damage, the percent on Melee Might, as well as the army attack there. That is very key. Next up, we have the Superior Hauberk with Fire Protection. This one, again, not everyone runs Fire Protection, but Alchemists are very, very popular. If you don't run Fire Protection, you come up against anything else using Alchemist or another Witch King, you're going to get smoked. I'll show you some battle reports soon how this played up to my advantage very, very well against a much more whaled Witch King. After the Superior Hauberk, we have the Horseman's Helm with Warding. This is stun immunity. Some people run Madness, some people run stun. I prefer to run stun in PvP, and I run Madness when I'm doing PvE early game. So if you hit a green mounted tile or something like that, it's not a big deal. Obviously, best case scenario here would be a Cask of the Submerged Isle with Aegis, but I don't have that. And the stun helm works really, really well. And then lastly, the big thing here is going to be the tactical mark Palantir. Now, it gives army attack, which helps off the alchemist, but the tactical mark gives you pursuit, which helps you take care of those Gilgalads who can be very, very nasty to Witch King. I'll show you some Gilgalad reports in a second as well. I don't like the conversation that pursuit counters Gil, because I don't think that's the case, but I do think for Witch King specifically, adding pursuit can make a huge difference, which you'll see in just a second. So this is the optimal gear that I would run. Again, if you don't have this exact stuff, the fire protection is really, really helpful, but if you don't, just run something that has might and has melee vigor. Again, trying to get either stun or madness. If you don't have stun and you have madness, you can run that. You're still going to see use out of it for sure. If you don't have a cutlass with melee might, anything with melee might, anything that increases might. And then for the accessory, if you had a purple one you had to go with, I would go with the Drums of Moria just for the army attack, and I would go with the Haste of Soldiers. That way, if you come up against another Witch King, your alchemists are ideally a little bit faster than the other Witch King. So those are the gear pieces for Witch King that we're going to look at. Now, this is on the sheet, but I want to go through it a little bit so it makes sense. Here, let's see. Let's move over here so we can not block Fred's face there. So the skill order priority, if you remember from the last video, is down here next to the chart. You can see the numbers to start with. So we start with Black Captain and go to Convener and so on and so forth. So we're going to start with Black Captain, which gives extra damage for Orcs, Uruk-hai Trolls, and Evil Men. And the races mentioned above get an extra 2 HP. Very nice there. Then we're going to go to the Convener skill, which is very, very, very important. In the first 2 rounds, you're going to get Initiative with a 75% chance to gain follow-up each round. So Initiative means you act first this round, but obviously if you go up against another commander with Initiative, like another Witch King, it comes down to speed. And then follow-up, you have a chance to initiate 2 normal attacks. So you want your Alchemists to go first. You want them to hit twice, 4 times in the first 2 rounds. And usually a lot of commanders do not make it through those first 2 rounds. After Convener, we're going to go to Ring Wraith. We're going to max this out. This is going to increase the burn damage the Alchemists or Sappers are doing, which is very, very nice, up to 30% here. Then we go into Nazgul Screech, which when maxed out is a 100% chance for stun. So if they don't have stun protection, this is going to make it even more difficult to survive the first 2 rounds of the heavy Alchemist damage. After that, we're going to go into Morgul Commander, which is going to reduce the damage Orcs and Uruk-hai take by 14%. Now, even if you're running Halberdiers and Swan Knights as your other 2 troops, like I mentioned, there are some different options with the different types that you could run. Trolls and Halberdiers, whatever it is, you should still run Morgul Commander because 14% on your Alchemist can make a big difference. Sometimes you might hit multiple armies, so going into that second army, you may not have as much of a front line left, so that 14% could be the difference of your Alchemist being able to hang on and push through whatever armies you may come through, because the way Witch King works is he hits hard and he will just keep going until he's completely wiped. He does not draw out very, very much. So you could hit however many 4, 5, 6 army stack. It's not like he's going to hit 2 and then draw and have a lot left. He's going to keep going through until he full wipes. That's usually how he works there. So Morgul Commander is very, very nice. Now, this is something I didn't do before, which I actually really have started to enjoy this season. Usually the rest of the points I would have would just go into break defenses. It's against one enemy target, you deal physical damage, and they have defense down. So that you're looking at all the skills and thinking, okay, what helps the Alchemist? Oh, reduce the defense, that makes sense. But I usually would just split points between Lord of the Nazgul and break defenses. However, this was something Nethery shared with me because we were looking through a battle report where I had like 3 enemy units left and my Alchemists hit that. And even though they do so much damage, if you hit a very, very small amount of units left, it doesn't matter. You don't attack anything else after that. So he suggested going into Inflame and Morgul Poison to kind of help take care of those really, really small amount of troops that get left behind sometimes. So I put 1 point in each of those. And then all the extra points I have go into break defenses. So again, as you can see on the sheet here, the priority is going to be Lord of the Nazgul. Then we're going to go down here to get the 10%. We go over here to get the other 10% for the extra damage for burn and poison. And then lastly, I just have right here extra points. As many of you got are going to go into break defenses. This is about, so my Witch King right now is level 44, but this is a respect 10. So think, respect 5, level 49. This is about the points you would have where you just, finish up getting the Inflame, the Morgul Poison, all that stuff. If you have a higher respect one, you can get more of the break defenses. You could even max out Lord of the Nazgul to reduce enemy commander damage. You could also look at going down to the R5 and Dishearten, although I don't like going into that if I don't have Nazgul because these are just wasted points. So, I mean, it is nice to reduce this even more. If you got the points, you can look at that. But, if I don't have Fell Beast, it seems like a waste. So that is the skill build for Witch King. All right, so these are in no particular order, but I just wanted to show you the success that I've had so far. We're not going to dive too deep into these. Some of them are more whaled, some of them are not. This isn't like meant to be cherry picked, but just to show that I think I have about 18 reports here where you can see consistently how well Witch King is performing, even against some commanders who would usually be considered at least soft counters for him. There are some failures in here, but in terms of first hit, full army versus full army, I want to go through what we have here. So here we see, again, counter rapid fire. We've got a Dwalin here that we took out. They got through our front line, but pretty good report there. Another Dwalin. I've got him grouped up with what commander type it is. Here's a Dwalin. I guess this one was not totally full, so we'll go ahead and skip over that one. Level 50 Theoden. Again, some people say they struggle with Theodens. I just don't. As long as you have enough of a tanky front line like Swan Knights or Trolls, this is a very good Theoden. This one I believe has some pretty decent gear on it. Again, I had significant losses, about half, but the expenses for the mounted troops for Theoden is pretty ridiculous. So very happy with that one here. Another Theoden, same level 44 versus 44. They've even got Swan Knights. Doesn't really matter for Witch King. Again, you get the idea. Theoden, no issues there. This is kind of random because it's a Kamul, but I just threw it in there. But you don't see a whole lot of Kamuls out there, so evil men troops, not a problem. These are some interesting ones because I usually struggle with Gilgalad, or at least people do if they don't have Pursuit. Again, I don't think Pursuit fully counters. There are still some very willed gills out there that I've seen that are very difficult to deal with. But here's a gill here, 46, 2 levels on me. This actually is a Sapper Witch King, so not even totally ideal. In fact, 50 less Swan Knights than I'd like as well. But we were able to get through this. He did draw, but usually some gills can full wipe Witch King. So this was very good as well. Here's another gill right here with pretty good troop comp, level 44 versus 44. This one with Alchemists and Sappers, still heavy on the Sappers, but with the Pursuit, with the tankiness, this is no problem. And now we get to some Gandalf the Greys. Again, Gandalf the Greys is one that you will struggle with. It does depend on the gear you have. It depends on the gear they have. It depends on the troops they're running. But here is a victory here. Kind of a weird comp, but this is actually one I didn't have a full army for. In fact, I think this is the first one. Maybe not. But here you can see, just so you know, I'm not only showing victories. This was a Gandalf the Grey camp against same level, 44 versus 44. But this one, I believe, had High Alert and the Fire Protection. I know it had one of them, but definitely not going well for Witch King here, where you just get full wiped. But they've got enough tankiness and extra damage with their sharpshooters here that I just could not cut through it, unfortunately. Here's another one with the draw. It's pretty ugly as well. Actually, this is the exact same person here. So you can see some RNG at play here where I got defeated here, and here we drew. So there's a little bit that goes there. If I had to guess and go through this report, I would say I probably did not get Convener as much as I would have liked to in the first couple of rounds. But there's Gandalf the Grey. Here's an Arwen. Again, didn't actually have a front line here, but no issues with the Cavalry Arwen. I have 2 reports here for Aragorn King of Men, actually. One, Blinding Barrier. I don't actually think he had the right helmet on, but just like a kind of standard King Aragorn damage build. Nothing crazy. No issues there. I did, however, in a second, I'll show you another one if I had it in here, where I got wrecked by King Aragorn that had some whaled gear, which is kind of the exception, but that one definitely hit me pretty hard. Here's the example of another Witch King. This is actually against a much more whaled out Witch King. Aegis Helm, you got the gold gear across the board. But again, the difference here being they did not have the fire protection, so a higher level, better gear, higher respect Witch King. They had the taunt, they had Alchemist, all that good stuff. And mine was actually slightly weakened. You can see 275 on the Swan Knights. Did not matter, so very happy about that. Here's a Khaldun. Khaldun reduces a lot of damage. They reduce physical damage as well as overall damage, so burn damage is not considered physical damage, so in my opinion, Witch King does fairly well against Khalduns. And that is that. Again, we could go through every single report and look at the battle reports and show you. It wasn't meant to be a cherry-picked thing, but I just want to show you that even against skills, even against Gandalf the Whites, it doesn't really matter. Witch King does really well. Now, I have had plenty of reports all season. Those are just my most recent ones where he has gotten absolutely smacked, or, you know, you hit a kill that has just whaled enough gear, or, you know, anybody that has a burn protection chest on him. If they're running this burn protection chest and High Alert, forget about it. Like, Witch King is not going to get through it, and High Alert by itself already makes it pretty difficult. So with the Clairvoyance ability, I try and avoid commanders that have burn protection because it can get ugly. But all in all, I've been very happy with Witch King. I know some people just use him for PvE, but I've been very happy with him on the PvP side as well. So let me know what you think down below. Again, the spreadsheet here will be linked down, or the snapshot will be linked down in the description below. So if you want to look at running your Witch King in a future season, I'll have that down below for you. But let me know if you have enjoyed your Witch King, if you've not enjoyed it, if you've come up against Witch Kings, what your experience has been. All that down below. And as always, I will see you all in a future video.